Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rules as Written Character Builds. This December I wanted to do something special and try to bring the classic YouTube Vlogmas tradition of one video per day until Christmas to my channel. So introducing Buildmas. I'll be releasing one new character build every weekday until Christmas, and on Christmas Day we'll be doing a double feature. Since this adds up to exactly 20 videos, I thought it'd be fun to go from levels 1 to 20, with each episode being a build designed to function at that level. Today, we've reached level 8, and we haven't done a purely supportive build yet. Of course, the Oath of the Ancients Barbarian was handing out temporary hit points every turn, but the main focus there was still dealing damage. This build today will be mainly about helping allies, but still dealing a little bit of damage while we're at it. Now, you might think we'd be doing a classic support class, like Cleric, Druid, maybe even Bard, but no. I want to take the edgiest class in the game, and instead make it helpful. That's right. Today, we are making a support Warlock. Introducing Buildmas, Episode 8, a not-so-edgy Warlock. With these videos, I focus only on the features that either play into the character fantasy or are necessary for the mechanical play of the build. For this reason, you'll often see me skip over class features. That's just me trying to stay on course and keep these videos to a reasonable length. I also try my best to play into the backwards compatible nature of the 2024 rule set. So I do use content from prior to 2024 as long as it has not been reprinted. Alright, so for the build, as a Warlock, we're going to need a great Charisma, and I always try to avoid making builds with low health and armor class, so we're also going to put some points into Dexterity and Constitution. This is going to be our spread. Strength of 8, Dexterity of 14, Constitution of 13, Intelligence of 10, Wisdom of 12, and Charisma of 15. For our background, we're going to go with Hermit, so we can snag the Healer origin feat. If you have a healer's kit, you can expend one use of it and tend to a creature within 5 feet of yourself as a utilize action. The creature can expend one of its hit point dice, and you then roll that die. The creature regains a number of hit points equal to the roll plus your proficiency bonus. Whenever you roll a die to determine the number of hit points you restore with a spell, or with this feat's Battle Medic benefit, you can reroll the die if it rolls a 1, and you must use the new roll. Rerolling those ones will certainly come in handy. For our background ability score increases, increase our Charisma by 2 for a 17, and our Constitution by 1 for a 14. Now, for the second time this week, we are not going to be multi-classing, so it's going to be 8 levels of Warlock for us here. To achieve this happy-go-lucky support Warlock, we'll be choosing Gnome for our species, specifically the Forest Gnome, and going with the Celestial Patron subclass. Let's take a look at the features that make this build what it is. Gnomish Cunning, the Forest Gnome species, Eldritch Invocations, of which we'll have 6, Healing Light, Inspiring Leader, Radiant Soul, and an ability score improvement. So first off, for our species, Gnomish Cunning gives us advantage on all Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma saving throws. That's absolutely huge. The Forest Gnome subtype also gives us Minor Illusion as a cantrip, and it lets us cast Speak with Animals, a proficiency bonus number of times per long rest. I swear, by the end of this build, we're going to feel more like a druid than a warlock. Next are our Eldritch Invocations, and at this level, like I said, we'll have 6, so let's go through all of them real quick. First off, we're going to go with Pact of the Tome, which lets us choose 3 cantrips. Each one can be from any class, and 2 first level spells with the ritual tag, each of them as well from any class. For our first level spells, I personally love the idea of Find Familiar and Ceremony. Find Familiar lets us summon a little buddy. Owl is, of course, the best choice. And we can cast touch spells through the familiar. So basically, our little owl friend can heal our allies with Cure Wounds. I also wanted to choose Ceremony because I love the idea of marrying my party members in order to get a +2 armor class for 7 days. I've tried many times to marry my bros at the table, but nobody's ever taken me up on it. But still, if you can find somebody willing to marry you, that +2 armor class is pretty good. Now, for our 3 cantrips, I would take the 2 best support ones in the game, Guidance and Spare the Dying, for obvious reasons. And this is also where I want to get our ranged damage option from in the form of the Starry Wisp spell. This cantrip deals d8's radiant damage at a 60-foot range. The target also sheds dim light for 1 turn after being hit and can't benefit from invisibility during that time. Less damage than Eldritch Blast, but more on brand for this build, I think. And remember that all of these spells now count as Warlock spells, regardless of the class we got them from. Now that's going to be important right now, because our next invocation is going to be Agonizing Blast. Choose one of your Warlock cantrips that deals damage. You can add your Charisma modifier to that spell's damage rolls. You can gain this invocation more than once, Each time you do so, choose a different eligible cantrip. Now, Starry Wisp is technically a Warlock cantrip for us, so let's choose that one. It's now going to deal 2d8 plus Charisma modifier damage for us. Next, we're going to pick up the Armor of Shadows invocation to take care of our armor class problem. You can cast Mage Armor on yourself without expending a spell slot. This puts our AC up to 15. Not great, not even good, but no longer bad. So, now to further increase our durability, let's take lessons of the first ones. You have received knowledge from an elder entity of the multiverse, allowing you to gain one origin feat of your choice. This one is also repeatable. We are going to go with the tough origin feat for an extra 16 hit points. And next, a favorite of mine has always been Eldritch Mind. You have advantage on Constitution saving throws that you make to maintain concentration. Alright, that was 5. So lastly, let's grab one more to improve our Starry Wisp cantrip. Eldritch Spear. Choose one of your known Warlock cantrips that deals damage and has a range of 10 or more feet. When you cast that spell, its range increases by a number of feet equal to 30 times your Warlock level. This one is also repeatable. So we're going to put this on Starry Wisp, of course, and that brings its range from 60 up to a whopping 300 feet at level 8. Alright, that's all of our invocations. We're going to get some support spells and Starry Wisp for our damage. We're going to improve Starry Wisp's damage and range, and then we're going to buff ourselves with Armor of Shadows and the Tough Feat, as well as Eldritch Mind for advantage on Constitution checks. Now, let's get into our class and subclass features. At level 3, the Celestial Patron blesses us with the Healing Light feature. You gain the ability to channel celestial energy to heal wounds. You have a pool of d6s that you can spend to fuel this healing. The number of dice in the pool equals 1 plus your Warlock level. As a bonus action, you can heal one creature that you can see within 60 feet of yourself, spending dice from the pool. The maximum number of dice you can spend at once equals your Charisma modifier, minimum of 1 die. Roll the dice you spend and restore a number of hit points equal to the roll's total. Your pool regains all expended dice when you finish a long rest. So this is our own version of the Paladin's Lay on Hands. And with our solid damage cantrip attack, it's going to be pretty nice to throw out some healing as a bonus action to round out our action economy. And since this bonus action has nothing to do with spell slots, we can even cast Cure Wounds at range thanks to our Owl Familiar, and also use Healing Light on our bonus action for 2 healing actions on our allies in a single turn. But we don't just want to heal, we want to prevent damage as well, and temporary hit points is a great way to do so. So we're going to pick up the Inspiring Leader feat with our level 4 ability score increase. Increase your Wisdom or Charisma score by 1 to a maximum of 20. When you finish a short or long rest, you can give an inspiring performance. When you do so, choose up to 6 allies within 30 feet of you who witnessed the performance. The chosen creatures gain temporary hit points equal to your character level, plus the modifier of the ability score increased by this feat. So of course, we're bumping our Charisma to an 18 for the +4 modifier. A pile of temporary hit points after every single rest is very nice. And although our Charisma is only an 18 right now, we are going to bump it up to a 20 with our level 8 ability score improvement. So for the sake of this build, it'll be a 20 for a +5 modifier, meaning the temporary hit points we grant will be 13. Alright, our last subclass feature is called Radiant Soul. Your link to your patron allows you to serve as a conduit for radiant energy. You have resistance to radiant damage, and when you cast a spell that deals radiant or fire damage, you can add your Charisma modifier to 1 radiant or fire damage roll of that spell against one of its targets. Of course, we love as much resistance as we can get, but really we're here for that extra damage on radiant spells. Starry Wisp is a radiant damage spell, and since this feature doesn't state if that modifier has already been added, we'll get to add our Charisma modifier twice to that spell's damage, thanks to Agonizing Blast, on top of Radiant Soul. So our Starry Wisp cantrip is now dealing 2d8 plus 10 radiant damage from up to 300 feet away. Still not as powerful as Eldritch Blast focused Warlocks, but very on brand for us, and pretty good considering we mainly want to support our allies anyway. And that's the whole build. So we are quite the little Tom Bombadil fellow here. We're a friend to all woodland creatures. We build our allies' hit points up with stories after every rest. We have advantage on mental saves to resist temptation, deception, and illusion, and we are tasked by the celestial gods to protect the woodland realms. It's a pretty well balanced build with an even split between healing and damage. We can heal on either our action or our bonus action thanks to having access to Cure Wounds and the Healing Light feature. We can deliver those Cure Wounds from up to 100 feet away as long as we keep our Owl familiar around our allies. And we reroll 1s of all of our healing spells thanks to the Healer Origin feat. And we can do all that while sitting at a safe distance and hurl pretty good damage 2d8 plus 10 starry wisps from up to 300 feet away. Not to mention that we have an above average pool of hit points for a Warlock thanks to our 14 Constitution and the Tough feat. So there you have it, a not so edgy Warlock. Thanks for checking out today's Buildmas video. Come back tomorrow and every weekday until Christmas for another original character build. Thanks again, and I'll see y'all next week.